Hello students, in this lecture, we will talk about data frames in R. We have been doing data frames in the previous lectures and trying to understand that how data is created, how data is pulled from CSV files. But this lecture is totally on the data frames, that we will understand that what is a data frame and how we can store data in the form of rows and columns. We will also learn how to import data in R, what is tidyverse package, exploring the data set using the $sign, which means that what are the basic operations with a data frame, filtering a data frame, introducing to qplot, visualizing with qplot, building data frames and merging data frames, what is messy data and how to deal with messy data, renaming the columns, attaching, detaching, and many such other options like frequency tables and how to store data. So let's have a look of this sheet and understand that what is this. We can see that we can create a data frame in R language, and data frames in R language are generic data objects of R, which are used to store data in tabular format. Data frames can also be interpreted as matrices, where each column of a matrix can be of the different types of data. Data frame is made up of three principal components: the data, the rows, and the columns. So in this example, you can see that there are rows, where in the rows you can see there is data like 0, Avery Bradley, Boston Celtics, 0.0, position is PG, and age is 25. So you can see that the first row is pertaining to Avery Bradley and the details of Avery Bradley. The second row is of John Holland and the details of John Holland. So you can see that each row is corresponding to one person, and complete row is having complete information of one person. Likewise, if we talk about column, the first column is of name, where you can see the name of every person is reflected. Second column is team. Third column is number. Fourth column is position. And the fifth column, which is the last one, is age. So you can see that the entire data frame is made up of a grid of rows and columns, where every intersection of rows and column is producing a cell, and in that cell we are storing the value. So that is how we can create our data frame in R. We all have seen that we can create our data frame in R very easily with the help of data.frame function. We have been using data.frame function in the previous videos to create a data frame. Let's talk about some characteristics of a data frame. The column names should be non-empty, which means that if I'm giving a column, its header has to be there. I cannot have a column without any name. The row names should be unique, which means that each row name has to be a different row. Every row is a different row because that is pertaining to one person. Each row uniquely identifies a particular person. The data stored in a data frame can be numeric, factor, or character type. It can be a numeric value like age. It can be a factor like zone or category, or it can be a character type like a name or a designation. Each column should contain same number of data items, which means that every column should have equal number of number of data items. Every column has to be of equal length. A data frame is a list of vectors of equal length. We can always say that our data frame is a list of vectors, list of values, and every vector is of equal length. It is a two-dimensional structure. It resembles an R matrix, but a matrix has to contain only one type data, while a data frame is more versatile since it can have multiple data types. So as we have seen in the example, that in this data frame, we can see there are multiple data types, and first is the name, second is the team, then number, position, and age. So let's quickly see how can we create a data frame in R from vectors. To create a data frame in R from one or more vectors of the same length, we use the function data.frame. It is the most basic function and it has a syntax. Data.frame, within parentheses, we pass the vectors, which is vector 1, vector 2. Now you will say, what is this vector? This vector is basically a list of values. Now, if I'm saying there are two vectors, which means that my data frame will have two columns. Let's say the first vector would be the student ID and the second vector would be the student name. Third vector can be marks in English, then marks in mathematics and marks in science. So we can say that there are 5 vectors, which means my data frame will have 5 columns. How many rows? That is the size of the vector. So that is why I'm saying that the size or the length of the vector has to be same. Now in this you can see df is my variable name where I'm storing the data frame. Let's have a look of this example and understand better. Here the first variable is rating, which is having a values from 1 to 4. Next is animal, which is having values koala, hedgehog, sloth and panda. Next is country, where we are having values Australia, Italy, Peru and China. And then we have average sleep hours, which is 21, 18, 17 and 10. Super sleepers is a data frame, which is the variable which is storing the details of the super sleepers. Now we have used data.frame function, and within parenthesis, if you can see, we have passed the 4 vectors. What are those vectors? Rating, animal, country and average sleep hours. So what we have done, we have called the function data.frame, and within the parenthesis we have passed the 4 vectors. 4 vectors are nothing but 4 column values. And then I print super sleepers. So you can see it is so easy. I just write print command and within brackets I pass the variable super sleepers. So you can see the output that it returns the rating, animal, country and average sleep hours. And you can see the rating is 1, animal is koala, country is Australia and average sleep hour is 21. So the first index of all the 4 vectors is pulled, and that becomes the first row of my data frame. So first row is pertaining to koala, second is to hedgehog, third is to sloth and fourth one is to panda. And that is how nicely I have created a grid of rows and columns, and that also with the help of 4 vectors, namely rating, animal, country and average sleep hours. Now let's have a look and see we can provide all the vectors directly into the function. So in the previous example, we have first declared the vectors and then we pass the vectors into the function data frames. But here in this example, what we are doing, we have taken data.frame function and storing the result in a variable sleepers and super sleepers or sleepers, whatever we want. And then within brackets, I have passed the 4 vectors in terms of variables in the form of direct vector passing. So you can see rating, which is my ID, and that is equal to 1:4. Animal names are same, country, average sleeping hours, and the bracket closes. So you can see that the data frame brackets are closing and there are 4 columns. And we print super sleepers, and the super sleepers are basically the output of my variable, which can be sleeper or super sleeper. It is totally up to us. So you can see over here the output. It is again the same. The first column is rating, second is animal, third is country, and the fourth one is average sleep hours. So you can see over here that how nicely I have printed the entire data frame with just one print command. Now let's talk about rename the columns of a data frame. Definitely when I'm creating a data frame, there is a requirement that sometimes I want to rename the data frame. So you can see that names function is there, which can do such kind of tasks. You can see over here, I have taken names, and within names, I'm passing super sleepers. And super sleeper is equated to a vector where I'm giving call 1, call 2, call 3, and call 4, which are basically nothing but the headings of the 4 columns, column 1, column 2, column 3, and column 4. So I have given the names. The name function is basically used to give the name of the columns. So I'm passing the data frame super sleeper, and the name of the super sleeper columns would be equal to column 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see the output that when I print super sleepers, I get the result where in the output I get column 1, column 2, column 3 and column 4. So mainly students, names function is the function which is used to rename the columns of a data frame. So if I want to rename the names of the column, it becomes very easy because earlier the names were rating, animal, country and average sleep hours. But here now I have changed and I'm calling it column 1, column 2, column 3 and column 4. So the new name will override the old names. Now let's have a look of list. That what is basically a list and how it is used. Though we will be discussing list in details, but here we are just trying to understand what it is. So you can see over here, I have called the list function, and within the list function, I'm again passing the 4 vectors, The first one is stored in rating, the second is stored in animals, and then country, and the last one is average sleep hours. So basically the idea is that suppose I want to create a data frame, sometimes I can store the entire information into a list. You can see here that within print, I pass my list. So my list is my variable which I have passed. And if I print, you can see the result in the output. You can see rating, animal, country, and average sleep hours. So all the 4 values are coming in the form of list. So mainly I have created a list over here. Now, in this example, we will see that we are creating a data frame, but we are passing directly the list. So here what we are doing, we are not specifying each and every column. Rather, we created a list first, and now we are passing the variable mylist into the function data.frame. So you can see here data.frame within brackets mylist, and the entire data frame is stored into the variable super sleepers, and then we print super sleepers. So you can see the output. So you can see that very easily we can make a data frame from a list. Now let's confirm that the data structure we got is indeed a data frame. So how we come to know that yes, this data structure super sleepers is our data frame? So very simple, we have a class function. Now students, you all know that when we are calling a class function and passing a variable inside it, this function will return the class of that variable. So here you can see class super sleepers is equal to data frames. So you have printed data frames.